Welcome to WNL Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with three senior winter sports captains: Eric Shuman for men's swimming, the wrestling team's Dan Igel, and Kevin Gill for men's basketball. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington and Lee athletics. Senior Annalise Madison placed 5th at the NCAA South-Southeast Cross Country Regional in Newport News, qualifying for the national meet. The WNL women's team came in 10th overall, while the men finished 12th. In the opening round of the NCAA tournament in Atlanta, volleyball dropped a tightly contested 3-set match to Barry, finishing up at 28-7. Football fell 21-14 at Shenandoah in overtime, while wrestling lost a 30-15 decision to Manchester, and riding placed 8th at the Sweetbriar Invitational. The basketball teams each split a pair of games in tip-off tournaments at the Warner Center. Men's hoops fell 77-72 to Ferrum before topping Southern Virginia 100-92, while the women lost 62-49 to Meredith, but bounced back to defeat Gallaudet 65-52. And men's and women's swimming both went 1-1 in Pittsburgh, falling to Carnegie Mellon while picking up wins over Allegheny. With me now is Dan Igel, senior wrestling captain from Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You faced Manchester in Doremus this past weekend. You've got George Mason coming to Lexington for a dual meet on Saturday. 5 total home events for Washington and Lee this year. How exciting is it for the team to have so many chances to compete here in Lexington?
You know, it's really exciting. We've, really had a real scarcity of home meets because of how far away most of the wrestling programs are. So to have that many meets where our friends and family can be there is great, and also to not have to travel all the way to Pittsburgh or Ohio every weekend, I think is really going to be really good for the team.
Washington and Lee has 7 first-years on a 13-man roster. What do you expect these rookies to bring to the Generals program?
I think they're already bringing a lot. We have some guys really going out there and competing. Max done really well in the dual meets. McAllister Everett's one of our freshmen. Bennett Lewis had a great performance at our first tournament, placing in a really tough tournament. So I think we've already had a lot out of these freshmen, and I think, we're going to have a real special team in these coming years.
You were the only senior on the roster. What kind of leadership role are you looking to take, especially with such a young team?
I think it's really important to have that experience, in the room, having, seen a lot more competition and been to a lot of tournaments. But at the same time, we have a lot of younger guys stepping up into big leadership roles. And, I think that we're going to have a lot of leadership coming from a lot of places on the team this year.
What kind of goals have the Generals set for the season?
Well, having added so many strong freshmen to the roster, I think that we're really looking to finish in the top half of the conference this year. Academically, I think we'd really like to be one of the higher teams on campus and potentially be in the top 10 of the NCAA for wrestling. And I think, we just want to have fun and go out there and have a good time. I think that's really important.
Dan, thanks for joining us here. Best of luck this year.
Thank you.
I'm joined now by Eric Shuman, senior swimming captain from Black Mountain, North Carolina. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Through the first 5 weeks of the regular season, Washington and Lee is 4-2. You also placed 3rd at the Wingate Invitational. What have you learned about the team so far?
I think one of the biggest things that we've learned is that we're a team with a lot of potential. We have a really young team this year, so 11 of the 21 swimmers are freshmen. So they bring a lot of great new energy and hard work to the team, but we're definitely still developing that potential. But I think it's going to be a really strong program looking forward. And then kind of on that note, we've really focused on integrating the freshmen into the team quickly, and I think we found that we're performing best when we're really unified, and we've tried to put a lot of hard work into that, supporting each other, cheering for each other during the races, and that's when we usually have our best meets, is when we're all really kind of on board with that together.
The ODAC doesn't currently sponsor men's swimming, but we're starting to see some schools from the conference show up on your schedule. You've already beaten Hampton, Sydney, and Randolph-Macon. You go to Bridgewater in January. How exciting is it to see more men's swimming programs crop up at other schools in the area?
It's really great because it allows us to compete with the women more often. So we really see ourselves as one team. We train together for the most part. We travel together. But right now, because the ODAC doesn't have men's swimming, we have different conference meets. And in the past, when there were less ODAC schools, we kind of had more meets where we were separated. So with the increase in ODAC's men's swimming programs, it's great because we get to train and compete with the women more often and kind of keep that one team idea going.
This weekend's Franklin and Marshall Invitational will be your last scheduled competition until January. What's in store for the team during the long break between regular season meets?
So that's basically just a period of really intense training. So we'll be working really hard both when we're here, and then over Christmas break we take a training trip to Miami for a week. So we basically just go down to Miami and we have two-hour practices every day, and it's a really intense period of training, but in a different setting to kind of get us away from the normal distractions of school. And it's also a good time for team bonding because we're all living in a hotel on the beach together and then practicing together every day. So it's a lot of fun, but a lot of hard work too.
What are your expectations for the team this year, both within the Bluegrass Mountain Conference and on the national level?
So like I mentioned earlier, we have a young team and we kind of lost a lot of our big NCAA swimmers in the past years. But I'm really hoping that we can kind of hold on to our position in the conference this year and maybe send a couple of people to NCAAs. But I think this team, and especially the freshmen, have a lot of potential. And I think their dedication and their hard work and their passion for the program is really kind of going to drive the program to great places in the future.
Eric, thank you for being here. Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
With me now is Kevin Gill, senior basketball captain from Richmond. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Washington and Lee went 1-1 in the tip-off tournament this weekend. You lost to Ferrum on Friday, but you beat Southern Virginia 192 on Saturday. Overall, how do you feel the team performed in its first two games?
I think we did pretty well. I mean, obviously we would have liked to go 2-0, but I think we learned a good bit about our team. We saw some holes we have defensively that we need to shore up, and we also saw that we have the offensive firepower to really play with anybody.
You're the top outside shooting threat for Washington and Lee this season. How do you view your role within the Generals offense?
I kind of see myself as a floor spacer. When you have guys like Andrew Franz and Drew Kimberly that can really score and fill it up down low, and also guys that can drive like Clay and Patrick who can also hit some shots, and Jim Etling. I think my job is to make people pay when they collapse on those guys. And also I'm going to look to use my threat of an outside shot to create some easy baskets for my teammates this season.
You've got 3 ODAC games on the 2013 portion of the schedule, starting with Guilford on the road this Saturday. How important is it to get off to a good start in conference play?
It's really important. I mean, the ODAC is as deep as it's ever been, and Guilford and us in the middle of the pack, and there's a bunch of other teams in the middle of the pack. I think getting off to a good start is going to be huge to where we end up at the tournament this season.
What can Washington and Lee accomplish in 2013-2014?
I think there's really a lot of good things that we can accomplish. Right now we're just trying to get better every practice and focus on the next game. And I think if we keep that up, we'll put ourselves in a position to make a good run in the tournament, and ultimately at the end of the season look back and see that we've accomplished quite a bit.
Kevin, thanks for being here. Best of luck this year.
Thank you for having me.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming weekend. Men's and women's swimming head up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the Franklin and Marshall Invitational, which runs from Friday through Sunday. On Saturday, Annalise Madison will represent the women's cross-country team at the NCAA Division III Championship meet in Hanover, Indiana. Wrestling plays host to George Mason, while women's basketball travels to Methodist, and men's basketball opens up ODAC play at Guilford. For WNL Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Thanks for watching.